Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Boy, the quality of our sound is sure worse since we're Skyping.
You noticed this in the finished episode?
I sure do. And it's a bummer because I've been bragging to people about my cool, awesome sound system and what snobs we are. And it's like, oh, and I specifically sound bad. You sound great from the closet.
Well, if you wanted to, you could start recording your end. We could do a double ender.
Oh, that's true, huh?
That is true.
That probably would make it better. Well, for future, Andrew. Great idea.
Next time.
Okay. Yeah.
The first thing you should know about my friend Mrs. Filholm is that she's turned the corner. Last week, things seemed insane. Absolutely crazy pants. Remember that moment when Mrs. Filholm tried to pretend like the Banksy documentary didn't inspire her to commit acts of vandalism? I sure do. But things seem better this week. Her Instagram shows that she's built her labyrinth, she made some pottery, and she laughed with friends, while keeping a respectable distance, of course. It looks like Mrs. Filholm is starting to get comfortable with the new normal. The next thing you should know is that I don't really know if this is true. I haven't actually talked to Mrs. Filholm. She may be absolutely miserable. But I'm betting, based solely on my analysis of her more recent graffiti, that Mrs. Filholm is in a much better place. The designs are more thoughtful, she's using more color, and multiple scripts. It just seems more joyful. Not to mention, I know that Mrs. Filholm's primary motivation is to stick it to the man. Now that she's notorious around the Denver Parks Department, it only makes sense that she'd be happier.
The first thing you should know about my friend Andrew is that he has the temperament of an old man. He won't go on capers with me, he can't abide dirty jokes, and he goes to bed at a reasonable hour. The next thing you should know about Andrew is that he lives in Denver, Colorado, where in April of 2020, at 8 o'clock every night, the city howls at the moon. From porches and yards and rooftops, sheltered in place, at 8 p.m. we come metaphorically together and howl. I find it primitively absurd or absurdly primitive and a somehow fitting thing to do. But it seems like the kind of thing that might bother a cantankerous senior citizen. I've been wondering if it's keeping the old man up.
Welcome to Half My Age, a weekly show in which a 25-year-old adult and a 50-year-old child help each other make sense of the world.
Oh, hey!
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Howling at the moon?
Absolutely not.
You hate that shit?
I haven't heard it. I don't know if they're not doing
golly.
it at my apartment or if the apartment is too
Crikey.
soundproof. But
my
I have I've heard about I guess I haven't even heard about it. I've read about the Howling on the internet, and then by the time it comes around, I'm not thinking of it. I'm not the door's not open. I haven't heard it yet.
All right. It's a big thing in my neighborhood. I love it.
Yeah.
I would like to revisit some things in your opening because once again, I have kind of furious about your lack of understanding of me. No, I'm not really. But what the important thing you said there is that you're not really sure it's true. I just want to let you know, I have turned the corner maybe yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very dark and horrible week for me. And what I did was I built that labyrinth in my backyard, brick by brick, because it was almost the only thing I could do.
What's going on, Mrs. Filholm? What's
Nothing. It's just the end of the world. I'm going to be fine. I mean, a lot's going on. I think it is. I've been very disappointed, to tell you the truth, in my response to the apocalypse.
Why are you disappointed? You should cut yourself some slack. Give yourself a break.
Yeah.
It's the end of the world, Mrs. Filholm.
Mm-hmm. I know. I'm trying to. Because, okay, so here's what I think it is, and I honestly have some thoughts on it now. What had happened was in my past week, and I don't exactly know what exactly made it start feeling so low. Because, as you said, I had comic boys here this weekend. We had beautiful weather. I had them just hauling, like meeting me at Home Depot, and like you said, with masks on and gloves on and waiting outside 6 feet apart. And they carried 20 bags of mulch for me and 25 bags for Rafiki.
Wow, that's a lot of mulch.
And they hauled and they shoveled. just so I could get ready. And then, anyway, so, and they did make me laugh. They make me laugh so hard, so hard. I mean, yeah. I don't know exactly, like I said, where it went rotten. A lot of people have commented lately that the fact that the full moon, the full super moon, the full super pink moon, that maybe, okay, so my witchy friends are saying, well, of course you had a bad week, that you're whatever. I was in a very dark place and I couldn't really, I have plenty of people that I can reach out to and that I do. Okay, here's what it was. In isolation, one thing I miss is people, right? Of course, I miss going out and telling jokes for 50 people a night. I miss going out with my girlfriends. I miss just, as we all do. But here in isolation, I became so overwhelmed with talking to people that I had to not talk to people for a few days. And it felt like, it just felt like,
You've been doing so much talking to people via the like internet, or how are you talking to
yeah,
people?
yeah, Zoom meetings and checking in with people. And, that's make a phone call. We've said that. Bring back the
So
phone
much
call. So
so
you
that
check
you
in with
needed a
people.
break from it.
Well, I don't think that it was volume. And I mean, over the fence with my neighbors. I think I had a compassion overload, and I just can't hear about one more sad thing because I can't worry about one more person. And I understand it's not my job to worry about people. It's also, I have spent a lot of time and energy in my 51 years uh, learning how to handle the fact that I don't know what you call it, but I'm a weirdo and I have some super high level of, we'll call it emotions or empathy or I don't know,
Sure,
but like
you're an emotion sack, right?
I feel like it. I
The
feel like a lot of people turn to me.
if there are free floating emotions out in the world, you attract them, you pull them in, and you internalize them.
Seems like it. I don't always internalize them. I have worked very, very hard not to internalize them. I have worked very hard, in fact, to understand that the opposite of war isn't peace, it's creation. That's a line from poet, philosopher Jonathan Larson, the musical Rent, but real profound. Um, yeah, I think that's right. I'm a filter or something. I don't know, and it sounds cuckoo, but I also think that a lot of people listen. I reach out to a lot of people for help, as do we all. But a lot of people have been coming to me and saying, things like, just for example, my 23-year-old granddaughter is really having a hard time with this. She's just got so much stress. She's breaking out in a rash, and and I look at them and go, I got nothing. And that is not my normal place to come from, right? It occurred to me at a certain point that everybody else right now, the other thing, I wasn't angry at people for talking about it. Okay, it came to a certain point last week. I think this is actually where I blew up. About a week and a half ago, I said to even my best girlfriends, I said, I am no longer going to speak about the apocalypse. You can in our video chats, because that's one-sided, back and forth, but I won't respond. I cannot talk about it. I'm not kidding when I say I don't have a hot take. I'm not kidding when I say I am informed enough, okay? I know enough to know even about the weather. I mean, like, please trust me that I'm an adult woman who has not really had a reputation for being completely uninformed about the world. I don't need to know that did I hear that now they're running out of fabric at the Walmart because everybody's making masks. I just, like, that's a detail that doesn't.
I got to tell you, Mrs. Filholm,
Um,
this is one of those situations where I really think ignorance is bliss.
okay. Right.
Now is the no better time. There's no better time to tune out the news than today.
Right, and we've been on that path, you and I, and deciding that for myself for a year now that I don't have news, but this is beyond that. I need to know some news. I cannot be complete ignorant, but obviously all of the hot taking and the press. Okay, here's the other part of it. Everybody else in the world seems to be having a more positive response to it than I am. Like a kicky is a lot. Like now we have to wear masks. Somebody called me up and said, "This is right up your alley. They're going to have competitions about the coolest, cutest masks. We can bedazzle our masks." And I just wanted to punch that person in the face. I don't care about fucking masks. I've listened to I feel like a Pandora. I feel like a Cassandra. I feel like this is not gonna be solved in a month. You guys. Anyway, at the time, it occurs to me that people are like rising to this level, like the whole world leveled up to the level of anxiety that I live with every day, and that super creatives and maybe comics Live with every day. It's like people are looking around and going, oh my God, the world is really hard. Do you know what we should do? Just really don't spend time in negative places. You raise the vibrations, just watch funny video, watch comedy. And I'm going, yeah. Oh my God. People are trying to cheer me up by sending me things like Robin Williams videos. Nope, not right now. No. I feel like I can't take one more negative thing. I felt it. It was a weird week, man. It was a weird week. It felt awful. And it felt like, and I'm sitting here, I felt very other. In a way that I don't normally relate to. I kind of take pride in being part of the community, and um, I don't
You fe-
know.
you felt other,
Ah,
meaning like estranged.
I felt like everybody else wants to talk about bedazzling masks. And did you hear the latest? And oh my God, it's affecting this person this way. That's all they want to do is process it. And I was going, when I say that I don't want to hear one more negative thing, I'm not kidding. Like, I feel like I'm going to physically explode and mentally explode. I mean, like, I was standing there looking at people like my neighbor across the way or her daughter or anybody, and or on a Zoom call where you try to do a social check-in with a group of people and going, I said, I asked for a boundary and you're not listening. I mean, I don't have the capacity right now. And that's where I'm disappointed. I'm usually the person who would bedazzle the masks, who would find a way to do joy. I go out and do sidewalk chalk now, A, because I want to get arrested because I think it's freaking funny. And B, because yeah, because it is one of the things that I just clinging at hope. But I mean, no, I have not been well.
So I
It has
totally
not
misread that.
been well.
I need to recalibrate. Basically, what I was doing is I was comparing your previous sidewalk chalk, which was grand in that it was quite large, but bland in that it didn't have all of your usual like curly cues and bits and bobs and uh, I don't know, your sidewalk chalk game. Maybe you were just dipping a toe in. Maybe you weren't as inspired. You're just trying to get out there and do something. And then this week I saw your sidewalk chalk, and like I said, you got colors, you got fonts, you got all kinds of stuff going on. And I interpreted that as happiness and joy. But it turns out that your work gets more and more creative and more exciting the more tortured you become. It sounds like.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't explain it. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on the sidewalk chalk. Who cares? I mean, part of it is the medium is not very whatever. I learned that I could do more with it. It's big, thick sidewalk chalk that I happen to have, and that's big, lumpy sidewalk. And when I first went and did that, I thought it would be. It was a different effect. It was like the volume of love, 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 hundreds of times, or commands like choose joy, stay safe, be kind, call a friend, you are loved, whatever. It was more like as you walked, it would be this running thing. This is just a different thing.
Sure, you're
I don't know,
getting more
different
familiar with the
paint.
medium.
Yeah, a little bit.
You've
And
spent
it
some
was a
time with your
flex,
tools and you're learning new techniques and
and it was a study. I mean, it was like, well, today I'm going to paint a still life versus I'm going to paint a nude tomorrow. To me, it's like no. Um, it was definitely a matter of middle finger because yeah, please do give me a citation for spreading joy. That was I mean, I'm okay. I'm gonna come out of it, but I mean, I was disappointed in my response because, like I said, normally that is my response. And people, the other thing is, of course, we do that on purpose on social media, right? I want you to think I'm okay. Mostly, I'm not gonna put. However, I did freak my mother out and my auntie by posting "I'm not sick, but I'm not well," which is a line from one of my favorite songs of all time. So it wasn't. I'm not the first person, certainly, to have posted "I'm not sick, but I'm not well" wearing a mask. That's a thing, right? Because I was me wearing my mask out walking, and the other thing that I take great joy is that my yard is coming to life, and I'm telling you, small pleasures, and I'm good at that. But this past week, I mean, I know I acted differently even to my neighbor. I mean, I would just go, I can't. I got to walk away. And the other thing, and you and I have talked about it, there's nothing else to talk about. All roads lead to the apocalypse. So even if I'm going, I can't, okay, Donna, let's think about what we're going to do in our yards, then it comes to, or she'll get a call and go, I just got a call from so-and-so, and that person has this and that, and oh, there's babies at the hospital. Like if we say that did I soak up the emotions from the world? I try not to. And when we were talking about earlier, if I feel other or whatever, I try to believe that we are all the same and everybody is gifted. Everybody's gifted in different ways. This one feels like, always has felt a bit like a burden. Often I try to deny it, like I am not any different than anybody else. I am as creative as anybody else. And now I go, no, it's possible that I'm a super creative.
A
And
super feeler, like a super taster.
yeah, I hate that. Uh, a lot of people have been spitting, like I said, full moon stuff at me, zodiac, sun sign stuff at me, saying, "Oh yeah, that all makes sense." It's weird. Anyway,
is that comforting or not comforting to hear that this is all the moon is responsible for this?
No, not comforting. The only, you know what? It is comforting in a way because right now I have been saying over and over again, and everybody wants to tell you what's going on. And I just go, I know. We don't know anything. And human beings do not do well with the not knowing. So I guess it gives me something to know.
Sure,
Like, oh, that makes sense. You're a Scorpio woman. Okay, great. Thank you. Great. Yep,
right.
all makes sense. Cool. The other comfort it gave me is that a friend of ours, a comic friend, has my same birthday, and another friend said, that cat had a bad day yesterday too, like you're saying. Like epically, weirdly bad. Like, whoa, depth of life bad. And I said, I wonder if I should call him up and see if he wants to come over here and lay some bricks in the dirt and move some mulch and stuff. And other friends said, I love that. That sounds about right. So it was sort of like the fact that guy had my same birthday. And the woman across the street from me, who I dig, has my same birthday. And she has said the same thing. And she is one person that I do not mind talking to, strangely, about it. I don't know. So whatever. It's just like maybe there are different kinds of people. Obviously there are. I know that. In these times, I guess I kind of like to think that we are all, tra-la-la, kumbaya, arms linked together the same. And I go, I'm not the same, you guys. And I'm not kidding. So friends trying to cheer me up, or friends who could sense it, or just friends in general. Like we're all trying to cheer each other up. They're sending, like I said, please right now, don't send me anything about Robin Williams.
Why is that bad? Just because that's another sad thing?
No. Yeah, I didn't know if you'd get that. No, because I think he was the same. And because when he died, people said to me, oh my gosh, I mean, like close, dear people who get me said, oh, that was such a tragedy. Golly, Lisa, that's why I worry about you. You just always really remind me of Robin Williams with your fast brain and your boundless creativity. It's not a great thing to be compared to there in the end. Anyway, whatever. My point is, nope. Were people sending me SNL videos and going, have you ever seen this? And going, yeah, yep, I have. Here's one thing that helped me turn the corner.
Yeah, that's a good thing to talk about. What's making you happy right now?
Howling at the Moon does not suck. For the whole week, for some reason, that was a compulsion.
So do you have an alarm that goes off at 8?
No, in my neighborhood, you can just hear it. And I'm aware of it. I want to do it. I like it. For the first couple times I heard it, I was like, what the what? And then when I saw it, and it's truly joyful. You walk out on your porch and you wave to your neighbors and everybody's just laughing. And it's so stupid, but it doesn't hurt to howl at the moon in these. It's like I said, it's ridiculously primitive. It sort of fits. And then everybody goes back in their house. And I heard my mom, I was talking to my mom last night at 8, and I said, oh, let's howl together, Mom. And then I hung up the phone pretty quickly because I could hear her saying hi to neighbors with real joy in her voice, like, oh, hi, and like feeling like, isn't this crazy, this thing we're doing out here? And like, oh, hi, Jenny, or whatever. And I said, Mom, I'll let you go. She had a connection with her neighbor across the, across the grass, everybody from their little patio. That's beautiful. People are feeling isolated. So I love that. No, okay, I want to talk to you about digging the dirt.
I do have some questions.
All right.
Several episodes ago, we were talking. There is like the great dirt debate. What are you going to do with all this dirt when you build your labyrinth? So I need to know, did you smuggle it out into the alley in your pant leg and then shake it out when the warden's not looking?
One fistful at a time. Did you see the Shawshank Redemption quote that I posted with Instagram on
I think I
Instagram?
did, but I didn't recognize it.
It wasn't even I who said it. It was this kid who was working for me, and it was when they're sitting there and he's on the black top, and it's the seminal moment where he said, "For one brief moment, for the briefest moment, everyone in Shawshank felt free." At first, he said, "This is like Shawshank." I was like, "What are you talking about? Jesus Christ! I thought you were in the military. I thought you could do hard work. You're telling me you're hot and sweaty and you need a lemonade, and this feels like Shawshank?" And he said, "No, we're in captivity right now. This right here, doing physical work and cutting your neighbor's tree for her and sweating and sitting in your backyard and not being able to touch each other, but still being able to laugh and shit. It felt like a moment of freedom. It was pretty fucking cool." Okay, so those boys helped me, and my son George did the majority of it. I have dumped the dirt in my alley along my garage, and there is one pile of it by out there. Not in anybody's way. A couple of people have actually come and gotten a little bit of fill dirt, not enough, it's crap dirt, but like Donna actually came and got some to fill some sinky parts in her lawn. Of course, the wind and the rain and the stuff makes it kind of settle. It's fine for now. I threw some wildflower seeds, like those horrible things you shouldn't do because they're actually so invasive. Don't tell anyone, but it will be pretty. I threw some wildflower seeds along the alley garage side because it could be very pretty if it just sprung up into weeds, but they're colorful. So the getting rid of the earth wasn't the worst thing. I have been moving all of the rock because, okay, the cool thing is that I really do feel like I have a compound here at the dollhouse. So I'm going to have to do a new wayfaring map, a new estate map, because I've switched some things around. But I
Sure,
have
that
all of,
that labyrinth is a massive chunk of your map, I would imagine.
oh, and there's a big tree coming down that,
Got to redo the whole thing.
so much of it. Also, what I was going to say is that I have a lot of, okay, so I have sand, I have rocks of two different kind of rocks, and I have crappy little pebbly gravel. This is really handy for like my French drain. My French drain is the simplest, like talk about primitive. And it seems to be working, and I think it will work. I did not do anything Bob Vila fancy like a plastic box or an actual, what they would call the French drain box. I literally dug a nice deep trench and filled it with rough rock and gravel.
Mhm.
That's a French drain in the old school style. So that was a lot of digging, and a lot of rock moving. I moved pretty much all that rock by myself, bucket by damn bucket. Then the guy, George, helped me. I turned over a 12 by 12 foot space of dirt. That was where George removed some of the dirt. The boys came over and helped me level this thing. Okay. I was going to put in a paver patio because I thought it would be very cool to have like a place to have a real dining room table outside. In light of current events, paver patios are extremely expensive. Um, and it is the year where people are doing sort of a low key, and I imagine it'll ramp up, call for victory gardens. Like, let's not worry about the food supply. I've got chickens and eggs on my street. I've got peach tree across the street. I'm going to have some produce. They have produce. And I'm not kidding. We've got a cool little neighborhood. We're going to take care of each other if it comes to the end time. So what I wanted to do was make my paver path a labyrinth. I've been dreaming of having a labyrinth for a long time. It seems you can do a really like very easy version of them. There's this thought that it's a meditation walkway. They're connected to a lot of things. Most recent time on Maui, I walked a couple of labyrinths and went, yeah, no, this is legit. So I want to plant a garden instead of a paver patio, but I want to have a walking labyrinth, and I don't want to spend a lot of money. So Rafiki next door has a bunch of cool AF old brick, by the way.
Ooh,
I had
reclaimed
to
brick, that is hot stuff.
Am I not on trend, motherfucker? I had to fill it. I had to fill in with some purchased brick from Home Depot, and I have the sand and my bad clay dirt that we've been getting rid of. Sand and clay dirt mixed together. I mean, casually, if I did it in a really methodical way, this would actually be legit. It's almost like concrete. So I have this very methodical process, Andrew. I lay out my design, figured out how many bricks I need, how it's going to generally look. Now, one by one, I don't have the professional tools for this. It doesn't matter. Again, feels like I'm doing it the almost primitive way. People have been laying bricks without fancy ass equipment for a long time. And also, I don't care a whole lot about it being perfectly level. I want it to look like a magical fairy garden. I just want it to be safe so that people don't trip. It can't be like, and the bricks can't move and stuff, okay? So I've turned it into a spiral, which is a modified labyrinth. You walk in, you turn around, and you walk back out. It is bizarrely calming.
How long does it take you to walk this thing?
5 seconds? 10 seconds? I don't know. I should time it. Not a long time.
So you can get in and out in 10 seconds, and that has a
Maybe.
alarming amount of calming effect.
I kind of wish I could go time it right now because maybe it's 30 and 30. Yeah, and here's what I think it is. It's the brain, like the back and forth between the brain. Like I always noticed when his language was going, but before he got really bad, while he was walking, he could speak more, that step, that cross
Sure, there's
between
some kind
the
of
lobes of the brain.
connection.
And it's that like back and forth between the lobes. So I think what it is you walk in and it's kind of small and tight, really, and narrow. So you do have to pay attention to your balance. I mean, not someone like you or Delaney who has good balance, but it's just a little bit dizzying. And then you turn around and you unwind it, and it's like, whoo, I feel like it just took a little nap. Oddly comforting. Okay. So that's the point of it. That's what I'm putting in. That's my design. It is a one-woman show here now because only I can do this whole where I level the thing and then I do the sand and the brick combo and then I water it down and then I stomp it down and then I adjust the angle and I do. I'm sitting there in the ground. I am completely tan, like it's the middle of summer right now. It's fantastic. I'm playing with roly-polies. I'm digging up worms. I'm touching dirt. I'm thinking about my garden. It's one of the oldest things I know, and it's one of the things that is my daddy. I have been doing it like to a fault where I should be doing other things that make money or whatever, and I go, today I will lay some more bricks for my thing. And I have been interrupted by my next door neighbor who needs me a lot. And I try to remember that she needs me a lot and she's been very good to me. But even back there in my backyard, it is like I have not felt completely alone. Also squirrel trapping, and all of that. Anyway,
what's the update on the squirrels and the squirrel man?
I have a good update about that. So let me just
man.
wrap this shit up. I was disappointed in my response to not be able to do something kicky and fun and bedazzle masks and, provide anything for anyone. I felt like kind of an asshole. Oh, I didn't finish the story. So that's what I've been doing. The one thing that picked me up when somebody asked me, my friend Jeff, I've mentioned him, Baby Jeff, my comic friend, he said, how you doing? I said, super not good. And he called when it was appropriate and let me, got it, probably faster than most. And then he quoted Marcus Aurelius to me and sent me a page of it. And that was the most gosh darn comforting thing I had heard. And I think it is very fascinating that when the rest of the world gets wonky,
the wonky
they
people
turn
get
to
normal.
YouTube videos. Yes, they turn to the fools, and the fools go stoic. And you asked me last night, I sent you that, like, here's one for you. And also St. Benedict, as I'm putting down that brick by brick, I'm going, the work is prayer and prayer is work and work is prayer and prayer is work. This is my prayer. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it's about. I got nothing. This is also Holy Week. As a Catholic girl growing up in the apocalypse times right now, it doesn't mean a whole lot to me. But it is interesting that there is a sacramental kind of journey there. In past Lents, I have done a mandala. This is very like that in some way. Anyway, so I did start to turn a corner. It was after Howling at the super moon, pink moon, my color. So maybe that's all true. And get this. Today we're recording. Right after we record, I have a quick turnaround time. I have 2 voiceover jobs. And then on Saturday and Sunday, thanks to other people being able to pull their shit out of depression better than I have 2 virtual online shows. I have a schedule right now. Hey,
that's
all right.
That sounds
good. That's
all
right. Yeah, not enough money. And, 2 voiceover jobs this afternoon does not pay my mortgage. There was something in there. It kind of felt like necessity. I have to, for reasons I cannot explain, to a point that will beat up my body. My hands are a mess. I have to sit here and just brick by brick by brick, almost lying in the dirt at some point. And then pretty soon, that thing's almost done. We're gonna have a thing back here and we can. And also, I had a little girl come over and paint her pottery that she had done months ago, and she wore her mask, and we didn't touch, and it was out of doors. Surely, can't I do that? That's not illegal, is it? Because that was great. You know what a 10-year-old says about the apocalypse?
What?
I mean, I'm not really that worried, but I'm kind of worried. But right now, it just feels like summer vacation. And then she just started going off on her annoying friend who called her too many times when her phone was turned off. I went, cool, 10-year-old, can you come over here a lot? Let's just say, I'll talk to you across the fence. Just adorable. Okay, so there you go. Your intro was ultimately right. I am indeed turning a corner, but not when you thought I was. And I think that's funny that, don't we all know that? Like people go, well, I've had adult people my own age in the past year say to me, golly, I just thought your life was so perfect. I can't believe you were getting a divorce because everything just seems so great. I'm like, well, yeah, don't you know how that works? Andrew, I was worried. I don't know where my phone is. I was losing sleep this week over do the young people understand how to interpret the arguments, Okay, we're going to move on to something happier. Trees, you say? Trees, did you say? What? Squirrels?
Trees, squirrels. What's going on with the squirrely man?
Donna found a full, perfectly preserved squirrel skull under, at the base of her tree when she was picking out dead leaves.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it on a stick, and I made a paper squirrel effigy that we burned, and we lit sage and candles, and we put a Corona beer, and we had a little shrine in the backyard, and we had a squirrel. We were being kind to the squirrels. The squirrel man pretended to be so offended and hurt and was going to call PETA on me. I said, it's the opposite. We're not killing squirrels. We're just telling them, go away. You're
sending them a message. That's the equivalent of putting a little horse head in their beds.
I mean, it seems like even less invasive than that because it's a squirrel that we found. It's a skull we found naturally. By the way, it is so cool. Can't wait to show you. I mean, the inside teeth, and I might make it show art and also I want to draw it for life drawing class. And you know how I have deer antlers hanging in my bedroom, and I have the fake dinosaur mount hanging. I kind of want to hang the squirrel trophy.
That would be the tiniest little plaque you'd mount that to.
It'd be the tiniest little plaque. Okay. Okay, so he caught 5 squirrels, let them go, released them.
5 squirrels, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and it was the family, and now they're not gone, but they're pretty much gone. I mean, it has been markedly different in our yards, okay? For real. There's still a couple that come around. Rafiki has now been taught by, well, see, I wonder if this is her ruse to get men into her yard. Because she's been taught how to use her BB gun several different times now that I think about it. I think maybe finally she got it now. I'm not kidding. Because it was Tree Man was teaching her the first time. Then my 2 young men who were working in my yard came over and helped her. And they were so psyched because, they haven't held a BB gun since they were, 10, 12? I mean, they kind of couldn't put it down. They kept shooting at the target.
Sure. BB guns are very special in a man's life.
I should think. And one of us, she has some vintage ones that are yeah. Anyway, cute. And then another guy, she had another neighbor over with his son the other night. Interesting. Maybe it's just a ruse. That Rafiki. Okay. Tree guy is great. And I don't think he's going to be a paddleboarding partner because he's an old man and has a bad knee. But I do think I might help him make a podcast about trees and squirrels.
Yeah. That sounds fun.
It does sound fun. He's pretty interesting. So he's been asking, how to make a podcast. And so far we're bartering because he also gave me intel, speaking of the map of my grounds, I don't know what it's like
okay, can I guess?
Yeah.
The map of your grounds, he identified that it's actually an ancient squirrel burial ground.
That's funny. No. Donna and I were talking about making a sign that said squirrel burial ground, though, and just to threaten them. No. There's a tree I have in my yard. I don't have many, but it looks like a Christmas tree. I was trying to think of the actual name of it, and I can't freaking remember. And it's not really a tree. It's not really a bush. So he looked at it. I had the handyman trim it earlier this year because believe it or not, Andrew, it all comes back. That thing is part of the problem of the ice damming in the gutters.
Is it throwing shade or what's
yes, it's throwing shade. That bitch.
I think I
She
know the tree.
throwing
You're talking about
shade up on her TikTok.
the one on the corner of the,
Yes.
what's the outside thing called?
West Portico. West
The West
Portico.
Portico, the outside of the West
Correct.
Portico.
The northwest corner of the West Portico. So I had him look at it and just asked him, like, look at this tree, looks like crap. What do I do? Will you trim it? Actually, he was saying he's going to come back and deal with Donna's trees and stuff. And I said, could you trim this up? It just looks ragged. I didn't like the way the guy trimmed it. And he looked and said, sorry, darling, it needs to come down. That's not a good tree. It's planted too close to the house. It's outgrown. And I went, great. I kind of hate it. Okay. Get this. This is why a tree podcast might be interesting with this cat. He comes back and says, actually, Lisa, I've been thinking about it. And I don't have an exact picture in my mind. I should read you the text. It said, I would like to, instead of taking that tree out and grinding the stump and all of that, I was like, oh, that was more than I was going to do, buddy, but okay. He said, I could come and trim it. So it's just a trunk and trim all of the branches off except I can't exactly 4 inches away from the trunk every 6 inches. So imagine like it's a bare trunk with some little stubby arms poking out. Okay. All the way up.
Okay.
Imagining that.
Is this an art project or is this
Listen,
something to help your problem?
Stay tuned. Both, as it turns out. So what he says is we do that, we shave it down to that. And I'm going, sounds ugly and barren. I didn't say that. Then we plant a vine up it.
Oh,
and then
turn
these
it
vines
into a trellis.
Yeah, a trellis. And then I think as it matures, like the vine would actually look like a big, well, phallus probably really. But I mean, like it'll spread, to fill out a little bit. So it's not just one vine climbing up a pole. It's a trellis. And he said he comes with all the scientific and, arboretum reasons that works, arboreal reasons that works and makes sense and is a 25-year solution and and is good for this and that and blah, blah, blah. So then he set me on looking at different kind of vines. So that is fun stuff.
Do you remember when you had, I don't remember, in the iteration of handymen, you had one who was hanging lights and cameras and stuff, and he started
Yep.
getting kind of philosophical about, or not
Yes,
philosophical, but creative. And you were saying, you just do what I tell you. Don't get creative here. This is not to be an art project for you.
Yes, I do.
I'm getting a little nervous here. You've taken
Okay.
Squirrel Man out of squirrel category. Now he's Tree Man. And he's got some ideas.
He's got some big ideas. Oh, he really does. He was trying to convince me last night that I should put a fish pond back there. And I'm like, bruh, no, I have my limits. I don't have any pets, including koi, although that would be awesome. I'm not doing it. No, I know. But here's the thing. I asked for his input on this. And I asked for a creative solution, which the first creative solution was, you tell me that tree needs to come down? Cool. I'm going to have these boys. He met O'Shea and Nyland who are here helping me. Thanks, boys. And I was like, you give them instructions. I'm going to have them do it because they're cheaper than you. You know what I mean? And you have a whole tree business and whatever. You don't need to be. And then he eventually said, please don't let those boys take down the tree. I'll take down your tree. My point is, we're going to barter for podcast time. And he's being very conscious about hour for hour, because I've sat him down and given him my sort of intake. Here's how you make a podcast. I don't mean the tech. I mean, here's how you think about it. The writing project. And he's done his homework and he's very serious. And listen, a lot of guys tell me a lot of things about the podcasts and the screenplays that they got. And most of the time, my eyes roll to the back of my head. And after 2 minutes, I go, I'm out. This guy has a real idea for a podcast. And he's got a lot of ideas about it. And it's kind of exciting to talk about and to whatever. And in the end times, it is happier to talk about trees and vines than the other. Okay. Art project wise, here's the thing. It's a little kooky. And I said to him, you got to describe it to me. I can't even picture it. But it's a really cool idea. And he also talked about, this is how he talks about trees. When I said, does it just need to come down? And he said, well, what that tree provides is privacy and cool and, So then when he wrote back, it was like, Lisa, I was thinking, instead of just taking it down, which I'm happy to do. So he's not arguing. He said, in order to keep some of your privacy, shade, coolness, color, DTD, the reasons that we plant plants in our yards, I was thinking you could do this cool thing with a vine. And then I got to go look at vines, and his first thought was flowering vines, which I'm like, yes. Second thought was fruit vines. You could actually do grapes or get this kiwi fruit. There's a plant in Denver that supposedly grows kiwi.
Seriously,
I think it's for
I wouldn't think you could grow kiwi in Denver. Not that I have any idea what the ideal growing conditions for kiwi are.
Well, you gotta suspect it has something to do with kiwi and New Zealand and more tropical climes than ours. more
One would
more
think.
toward the equator, right?
Well,
And I think that's true. There's some hybrid. He was just telling me about it. I looked it up. It looks like for master gardeners, I need something low maintenance. But I think what I settled on now is like a Boston ivy or an English ivy that turns beautiful fall colors.
hmm.
So
A
if I have,
nice
I mean,
a nice fall
beautiful
colored
red
phallus
Boston ivy.
title.
Oh, I suppose I can train it to do different things. Fall color phallus. Gross. I suppose I can train it to do other things. I definitely can train it to do other things.
Like sit and roll over.
Yeah, no. Okay. Anyway, so that's cool. That's what's going on with the yard and by the way, the walking meditation garden, which will be the victory garden. We're going to plant some real crops. Anything you want to see planted in there, Mr. Bridges? I'm taking requests.
So this is between the bricks and the path.
Yeah, those are all of that is potting soil, dirt, and tilling over, and that's going to be those are going to be my crops in addition to my garden boxes.
So it's a real live working labyrinth. It's
Yes.
not just a pretty face of a labyrinth.
No, and that's so monastic. I mean, it's going to be so beautiful. And so then as it grows up, and the truth is, a lot of people, as I was putting it together, would come back and go and be very. That's the other thing. I think that I got just like my tolerance went up. Is people coming over and going, "Why don't you do it this way? Why don't you?" And I go, "Why don't you take a flying leap?" I mean, like. Or people go, wait, I thought you were putting in a garden there. I am. I am. Well, it's in my brain. I mean, it is on a piece of paper. I've drawn it out. But I don't understand why people need to advise on things like that, where it's clearly a crazy woman's project. Just let me have it. You're going to love it when it's done. But that's the thing, like gardens not planted in rows. You're going to plant rows in a garden and you need paths between them. And often you put brick or timber or something so that you can, not get your feet soaked and stuff when you're in there weeding and dealing with your garden all summer. That's where I felt like, am I really that fucking bizarre and out there that I put in a spiral path? Same square footage of available planting land, right? Pleasant to my eye. And I felt a little bit like it blew people's mind. And that makes me sad. Like, is it really that weird?
What? I, I don't know what's going on here, Mrs. Filholm.
You know?
People have such strongly held ideas about your garden path, and they've had an opportunity to voice them to you. And
It's just like this. It's just like people are, wait, what do you mean? Why? I thought you were putting in a garden. I go, yeah, this is just a path. Well, it goes back to the time I built a nest on the East Coast, which I almost wrote my opening about today. Well, I did write one. I'll use it later. When I built that nest, and it was just like a dumb, joyful, mindless thing that I did for this little girl. And a person, quote, when I came back to Colorado, a person said to me, Lisa, that nest is all kinds of fucked up. And I just went, like 2x4 to my face. I'm just like people go, what are you doing? What are you doing building that thing? What's Lisa doing out there building another thing? Why do you care? Yes, people voice it. Is Lisa okay? I don't know. Okay. It doesn't matter that people voice it. I'm not mad at the people for having their opinions or saying their things. I had a real week, unusually keen feelings that reminded me of being maybe 12 years old of, I feel different. And that can be lonely. And then one of the things that my people do, first of all, my people, I feel like, are the ones who do know how much it really, 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 really does suck. Always, always. Like, I feel like my need to be a goofball and to choose joy and is a cultivated response to being born into this world with a real raw, uh, a bad filter about not letting it, not being able to see the doom and gloom. I heard myself saying to somebody the other day who, again, I was like, okay, I just don't want to be negative. And then this person just spewing. And I went, this person doesn't have anyone else to talk to. I know that I can hear the fear and the anger and the loneliness. I can hear it. So just hold the space for this person. And it's just literally making me sick. And my brain is getting hot. And at one point I just said, I know I've listened to the same podcast as everybody else. I'm telling you, I don't need to be informed about it. And I think that's what people are doing is they're Everybody's watching the news, and then we're all calling each other up and going, "Oh my God, did you hear it? Can you believe it? Now we're out of bleep, 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 bloop." And we just want to process it. Okay, the void in my life right now, it is not everything I've always done. I've always created my way out of darkness. But for the past 18 months or so, I have told jokes. I'm still writing jokes. My jokes are fine. Joke writing has been fine. But I've also been out there with people who get me, who somehow are broken like me, who we go, okay, life is so gosh darn hard, but it's worth it. And just, I think there is a certain amount of like seeing everybody else level up to our consciousness. It's disorienting.
I got nothing.
And it made me go, yeah, I got to hold my center. I got to build this center. And when my comic friends and I are talking Marcus Aurelius and the values of the cynics, you know,
Stoics.
when so and the cynics, aren't we though? Isn't that funny? Right, because you think we're the cynics. Prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance, or if you prefer, wisdom, morality, courage, and moderation. Those are the only things that will get people like me back to our center, and we probably ultimately know it. A lot of my comic friends are surprising me right now by they are really putting in daily habits. I'm checking in with them like, pretty good, pretty creative. I haven't felt pretty good. I haven't felt very good. But it's interesting to me how many of them have been putting in daily habits and using this time to become healthier. I don't know that I have, like I said.
Well, it's so much easier now than it usually is, because every other day of the every other day of your life, you've got things to do and whatever that it's very easy to make excuses to not do something. And this morning, I woke up at, I don't know, call it 30 minutes earlier than usual, where my recent trend has just been, sleep till you don't feel like sleeping anymore. And there's nothing in my day that says I have to, or I need to go to bed at this certain time, or I need to stay up for this certain thing. So like if you're talking about sleep habits, if you're talking about eating habits, if you're talking about exercise habits, it does seem like there's not been a better time. I mean, the only thing standing in the way of all this is the motivation and the like mental, the headspace problem, I imagine. But like physically and the way a day is structured, it seems like a great time to implement new habits if you have the mental capacity to take on such a task.
Yeah, seems like it. And I have not. And it's disappointing. Again, like I said, I'm disappointed in myself. This seems like something Lisa Lane Filholm would make into a project. How I survived the quarantine. I'm going to do a black score. This sounds like something I'd be really good at. And I'm not. I just been putting bricks in the dirt.
Something interesting in the most recent episode of Reconcilable Differences. At the end of the episode, Merlin asks John Syracuse, he says, what advice do you have for these people who are now working at home who have never had to work at home before? And he says something to the effect of, I got nothing except, just stay alive. Work doesn't matter. Work will, it's secondary. Just stay alive. Just focus on, persevering and getting through this. Everything else is secondary.
John Syracuse said that?
Yes. John
Yeah, he
Syracuse,
seems like
the robot.
Yeah, he's not a robot. He's the dark one there. That's interesting because Merlin Mann, I think I was listening to Back to Work and he was saying exactly what you were just saying. This is the time to just force yourself to go to bed at at the same time at night and get into habits. And I get it. I'm better at that when I have a schedule. It's like I'm like an athlete who's better in season. All the D1 athletes in your class would tell you, oh my God, it's so much. My grades are better. My life is better when I'm in season and I have literally no free time. There's a little bit of that for me. It's been whatever. I've been depressed. There's no way out of it. I have not been doing well. Hey, here's a thought I had. Since I hate talking to everybody about all of it, I was wondering if I should walk around with like a set of set questions, and then maybe that does become a project because people will have answers that maybe I should record. Probably not. Like, I'm not kidding. Okay, I was just thinking I should just say to people, I don't want to talk about the apocalypse. So here are a few things that I'm going to ask you these questions. I'm just asking everyone these questions.
Sure.
I don't know. What's your
Icebreakers.
hat size?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. But then, remember the Grace Helbig podcast I used to love? what was it? Not Too Deep. I love that. And she would ask every single one of her guests this as a list of stock questions. Like, if you were able right now to throw a pot of cold spaghetti on anyone's head in the world, who would it be and why? Because it was like,
who
and
would
then
you
they
throw
would
your
just
cold spaghetti on right now, Mrs. Filholm?
mine? Oh, I don't want to throw spaghetti on anybody right now. I would defer because John Syracuse says to just stay alive so I don't have to do my work. But it's interesting to me that Merlin would take the tack of, daily habits. And I mean, he's not being naive about it or Pollyanna. He's saying it's been hard, but this is the way you should do it. It's interesting to me that John Syracuse, he's the one I ultimately align with more, that he and his, because he's probably, I bet he's a Scorpio. I feel like maybe he is. That he would just go, just stay alive. That's kind of how I felt the past week. You know what? Just stay alive. It's been hard to, never mind. I'm past, I'm coming out of it. I've turned a corner, like I said, like you said. You predicted it. So what would those questions be? And then I thought, well, I mean, everybody's doing this. It could be like Cards Against Humanity questions, or who would you throw a cold pot of spaghetti on, Andrew?
Okay, I've been waiting this whole episode to get into my koan that I sent you.
Okay, great.
My haiku koan.
Perfect. Is that a good segue into that?
Kind of, because I would throw the spaghetti on this person.
Okay, great. Let's hear it.
So the thing that I sent you, I'll read it aloud for our listeners. It's a koan in the form of a haiku, and it says, "Nightmare Before Christmas. You have to help with 6 feet. She's recording this." And this is about, the other day I went for a walk, Tuesday, 2 days ago. And on my walk, I went earlier than usual. It was kind of like 9 a.m, which is only important in that there were fewer people out than there normally are when I go for my walk around lunchtime. And I probably got 3/4 of the way through the walk. I hadn't seen a single person until I get to this, the part of the walk that's usually pretty deserted because it's right in the middle of an office park. And during quarantine times, this office park is totally empty.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got my headphones in. I'm listening to John Syracuse and Merlin Man. And before I even get close to this woman, she starts yelling at me. And she says, "You have to help with the 6 feet. You have to help with the 6 feet." And I'm probably 20 yards away, 30 yards away. And I've got my headphones in. So naturally, the only word I hear in that whole sentence or phrase is help. And
sure.
And I pull out my AirPod and I'm looking, and she's gesturing kind of just, around her. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to be helping with? "You have to help with the 6 feet." And she's got her mask on, and she looks like the reason this haiku starts with "Nightmare Before Christmas" is because she's got these knees that look like she's had 5 knee replacements, and they're just spindly and kind of Jack the Pumpkin King looking. This woman is absolutely terrifying, and she's yelling. All I can tell is she's yelling help, but she's yelling at me. I'm not even close to her. In fact, I'm crossing a street, and she's several yards into the sidewalk that I'm headed towards, and she's yelling at me, "You have to help with the 6 feet. I can't do it on my own. You've got to help. You're more able than me." And I'm like, what am I even supposed to do? So I felt like alarmed. I felt almost as if I was being accused of murder in a very small way. Like, she's this old, decrepit person who could die at any moment if you breathe within her 6-foot bubble. It was absolutely insane.
Oh, could you please read the haiku again?
Yes.
Now that we know the story.
"Nightmare Before Christmas. You have to help with the 6 feet. You have to help with 6 feet. She's recording this." And I guess the icing on the cake that I forgot is in her right hand. She's got her right hand held against her chest as if she was clutching her pearls. And I can see that it's holding a cell phone and the flash is on. She's recording this. She's making a video of me for God knows who. I don't know if it's for posterity or if it's for the people who find her body because I've breathed in her 6-foot bubble. But she's absolutely insane.
I do not read Nextdoor because
oh, that's where I'm trying to figure out where I could find my video, and I bet you Nextdoor is the place I need to look.
100%, because I saw yesterday. I don't read it. I don't open it. I I have not turned off notifications from it. I don't know. Anyway, so I see sort of like, the first half of messages. Every great once in a while, I will go and investigate, like, what's that about? But I saw one yesterday. Maybe I did open it. The person said, face masks. I went for a 2-hour walk today, in this park and that park. I saw 76 people and only 7 of them were wearing face masks. And this is where, I hadn't yet quite turned the corner. And I was just like, I'm going, what did you do? Take a freaking clicker to count that shit? Did you set out that day for your walk to count human beings and then count them?
Totally.
And also, I don't buy it.
That's exactly what happened.
She went on, that was a fact-finding mission. But I also don't buy it because I go on walks every day and everybody except a few little kids on bikes are wearing masks. Everybody I see in the same damn neighborhood.
So I've noticed after my walk on Tuesday where this woman rattled me, yesterday I went out and I took a bandana because I don't have a face mask and I don't have a sewing machine. I don't even have a needle if I wanted to make a face mask. And I went at lunch, my usual time, and nobody wears face masks at lunchtime. And I saw an article in
when they're walking around.
Correct.
What's your neighborhood versus mine? You're privileged fucking people.
Well, but the idea that you have to wear face masks when you're exercising is absolutely insane. And earlier in the week, actually maybe a week or two ago, Westward published an article kind of doing the same thing you said that lady was doing on Nextdoor, which is talking about how nobody's adhering to the mask rules. They were looking at Wash Park. And they had wrote like a small series of articles about who's not wearing their masks and why it's bad and that sort of thing. And then they reached out to the CDC about, do we all need to be wearing masks, right? You said we all need to be wearing masks. And the CDC says, the risk of contracting this disease from someone who passes you while jogging is so infinitesimally small. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about in the grocery stores. We're talking about all these other things. Of course, it's great if you do wear your mask everywhere, but we're not concerned about the person who runs by you on the path. That's not the real risk here.
I know that. And yes, and I mean, I totally get that. But okay, here's what it all comes down to. First of all, I think it was Merlin and I think it was maybe Merlin and Dan who talked about part of the point of the mask is a signifier, right? It's like we're in this together and you're walking along the path with people. I did see one elderly woman I figured we're really actually 6 feet away from each other. If I stay on this side of the path and you stay on that side of the path and we're literally just crossing each other and we have our I got a bandana on. It's mostly, to me, it's performative, but it's also a good performative. But it's also like, it's a reasonable one. And you're out there and you just hail each other with an arm. And it's like, this is our world now. It prevents the instinct to stop and chit chat. It's weird, but it also, I don't know. Okay. The other thing I want to stop talking about that because the only thing that I didn't like was the person going out there explicitly to be judgy. Right. Went out there with a chip on his or her shoulder to be judgy, because that also right now, I have really struggled with that, even with some of my very, very, very dearest friends. We all have our approach to this, and we all have our little moral loopholes. I have been totally quarantined. I go to the grocery store once a week, and that is it. Home Depot, I've been once. The rest of it, I don't go anywhere. I don't buy takeout food. I don't, whatever. I've been treating it pretty seriously, except for every once in a while, I have a couple of comics come over here, which technically is against the rules. We follow distance. We don't hug, but come on. They're using my bathroom. Whatever. We're around. But everybody has their little moral loophole, but oh my God, that was another thing that had just had me so full of it all, the angst of people judging. Like, I can't believe my friend. And then they want to tell you about, well, my friend, her daughter, her husband works in a hospital. And so she, and they're refusing. The amount of judging, and again, I'm sitting here judging that woman for that. I'm not really judging people who don't wear masks to the park because I like you. I think it's performative. I mean, I know it is, but it also seems like, yeah, but it's a signifier. Hello?
I don't know. The last thing I heard is, yeah, it's a signifier.
I know, it's weird. It's a signifier of we're all in this together and we're doing our part, right? Because there is another, of course, contingent of people who are resolutely, and I've talked to some of them too, going, I refuse. You can't tell me what to do. And it's like, all right, it's not really what it's about, but all right. So again, we all know this. We all know what I've listened to all the podcasts and then I stop. People know not to listen to the news all day. They listen to the news all day anyway. And then they want to talk to me about it. That's where I was just, I can't. I have to talk to people who want to talk about Marcus Aurelius and trees, I guess.
The Marcus
And you,
Aurelius
Andrew,
thing
you're
is
always
funny.
nice to talk to.
That's a
Is it?
You remember the Tim Ferriss guy, the 4-hour work week, 4-hour body, life hack kind of guy?
Mm-hmm.
That was his latest not his latest campaign. That was one of his campaigns is get people interested in the Stoics again. And he put together a little
I wonder if that's how these guys found it.
a little compilation book of, letters from, I'm trying to remember, Seneca and Marcus Aurelius. So that's why I knew when you said those two names together, I'm like, oh, I know these guys. Those are the Stoics, the cynics.
I said Saint Benedict.
Mm-hmm.
But you said Seneca. That's different. Yeah, I know the cynics. Well, aren't we all? Yeah, I know. It's interesting, right? That the fools get serious and the rest of the world gets a little silly. I mean, and I love it. I love seeing the people making the most of it and posting videos of how we're doing homeschooling, how we're dancing with our kids at home. And, people are posting like really, truly heartwarming stuff. And I just look at it and go, I feel different. I feel other. I don't have one gosh darn moment of that. I don't have a bit of it. And then there's Howling at the Moon. That's pretty good. That's all I got. So yeah, I'm not kidding. I admire it. And I just feel like I feel like everybody else, obviously that's stupid, but I feel like the majority of people are responding to it by like knowing what to do. I'll make some comfort food. I'll organize a drawer. I'll play a game with my family. People posting pictures of like, we're hunkering down and doing puzzles. Also that kill me now. I'm glad I'm not fucking doing puzzles.
That's not
glad I don't have to.
That's not my response to this crisis either. I have not rushed out to buy a puzzle.
Do you like them?
Not particularly. The last time I did a puzzle, my grandmother, when we were growing up, she's lived alone for a long time, and she usually always has some sort of puzzle in progress. And I think the last time I maybe put a puzzle piece in a puzzle was more than 10 years ago, probably at her house.
I don't get it. And again, no shade, no lemonade. People, I'm glad that that's what gets people through. I have a friend who works at a bookstore that's still open on the East Coast. They're doing like curbside delivery only kind of thing, pickup. But they posted a picture on the Instagram. I saw it of their puzzle selection. He said they just went like bananas, like not even good busy. Like, and of course people calling up and going, well, what does it look like? Well, how many are the pieces jagged? Or, and they're like, wah! Like on the phone doing that. But it's like that's a thing that's an instinct that people want to do a puzzle. Oh yeah. Again, with my brain. And also, even if it's not even, I mean, first of all, I go, oh God, the fear of sitting still and doing a puzzle, for fuck's sake. But it's not that. I can sit still and do things, but I would rather be pulling a needle and thread through fabric, whether I'm making something or not, fixing a sock, or even I would rather just sit there and do that, something tactile with my hands, than put a puzzle together. I've never understood it. I don't get the joy of it. We did a few puzzles as a family. One of them we liked and like kept together for a long time. We never did the thing of like mounting it, which I always thought was infuriatingly cheesy. Even
I've
as a child,
never seen anyone do that. That seems insane.
Lucky for you.
Maybe that's
that was probably art in the 70s and 80s. Like you would do a puzzle and then, mount it, spray mount it, and frame it as art for your family room. Glad you've never seen it. That means it must have been a passing trend, because it's infuriating. I cannot abide. I can't abide. So yeah, I'm really, really, really grateful that we have had such nice weather. I understand we're going to have a crappy weekend here, and honestly, a part of me is kind of bananas grateful for that, because it's like the compulsion, the labyrinth is almost done, and honestly, if it's snowing, maybe I can't work on it. I have got to do some stuff. I still had tabs open sorry, I didn't even finish our show notes. Thank you for taking over. I haven't even looked to see if they got done. I assume they did. I still had tabs open when I opened my computer today from when we recorded last week.
Wow.
It's not that I haven't touched my computer since then, but I have not touched my computer much since then because it has been repellent to me. I don't know why. It's usually my friend. I mean, seriously, I make out with my computer 10 hours a day. I needed
Interesting,
to
Mrs.
dig in
Filholm.
the dirt. Well, we've talked about it. How we are on
We've
our
talked
computers.
about you making out with your computer?
We've talked about how we're both on our computers 10 hours a day.
Yeah, I've never once smooched mine.
I don't smooch it, but I mean, to the same, I wasn't really smooching spiders, but I was hanging out with them in the dirt and it felt good.
Oh, that's funny. Well, Mrs. Filholm,
I gotta go. I got a voiceover job anyway.
I know it. It's been
Stop
great talking to
bothering
you.
me.
I hope you feel
Andrew.
better. I hope you have a much better week this week.
Give my love to Delaney. Thanks. It was nice talking to you. Having you this conversation to look forward to was also, gives me hope. I appreciate you.
Talk to you later, Mrs.
Bye,
Filholm.
Andrew.
Bye.